This is the Freeheel Life Podcast, episode number 28. I'm your host, Josh Madsen, coming at you from the Freeheel Life shop in Salt Lake City, Utah. And it is another week in Telemark land. And today we're going to be getting another international guest. I've been trying to track all my awesome Telemark friends I've met from around the world and bring them into the podcast fold. So today we are going to be talking to Keith Woods, a good friend of mine from up in Ontario, Canada. And he was the past president of Telemark Ski Canada. He did that for about 2.5 years. He was also a board member and secretary of Telemark Ski Ontario for 15 years. And he has done a lot to help promote the sport up there. So I would like to welcome my good friend, Mr. Keith Woods. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show, Josh.
I'm stoked. This is it's good. I think it's fun doing these because I get to actually talk shop and kind of the stories of how I got to know all you guys, and it's been a lot of fun. So I'm digging.
Oh yeah. It's I miss talking to all my ski buddies in the off season when I'm traveling around and skiing all the different places and having lots of fun. And then it ends. And this year it ended a lot sooner.
Yeah. I mean, did your ski season kind of end the same time, like up in Canada, probably like mid-March or whatever?
Right after World Telemark Day.
Yep. That was it.
Yeah. And I know a Facebook friend of mine, Brian Carter in Colorado, he skis at A Basin, and he put something on Facebook, and it was about some ski shop up there in the mountain had some boots on sale. And when you got big feet like me, it's hard to find them. And I said, yeah, get them for me. So those boots arrived, and just as a spare pair, but they're sitting beside my chair, and they're going to remain there until I get to ski again. I told my wife that, but she's been protesting a bit. I said, nope, they're staying there.
That's so funny. Yeah. No, that's how it was with us too, because we went up to Idaho with the shop and then took all the boys up there, and we got back, and I remember we started hearing about the European resorts closing, and then literally right after that, it was just done. They just like called it, and that was it. So kind of a weird abrupt ending to the whole thing. But
yes, yeah. And I said to my wife Sean, I said, it's a good thing we have skins, because depending on how resorts open or not open, if you got skins and earn your turns, you don't need a resort. You just find a slope and skin up, ski down, and have some fun.
Yeah. Are you guys you guys are pretty low right there in Ontario, so all the snow probably was gone by what, mid-April?
Oh yeah, would have gone the end of March probably.
Oh, that's soon. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty warm here. Yeah.
I know. I saw one of our customers was out skiing yesterday at Alta. I mean, it's looking pretty haggard, but I was surprised to see the snow. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, like, if how, I don't know, depending on how it goes in the fall, like that may be the new normal. Everyone's going to be hiking uphill. Everyone's going to be in really good shape next year.
Oh, for sure. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Forced to hike even if you don't like it. So
exactly. Yeah.
So you guys kind of warming up in Canada now? I mean, you guys like full spring mode now?
Oh yeah, it's almost like summer. It's going to be, a week and a half ago, it was like 100 degrees Fahrenheit here.
What?
With the heat index. Oh yeah, we're a little bit north. We're just a little bit north of the most northerly border of California and Oregon, and it was killer.
Jeez. That's crazy.
And it cooled off. Yeah. Sometimes we have you'll see posts on social media. It says a year in Ontario, it's like 5 o'clock in the morning, winter. 11 o'clock in the morning, spring. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, summer. And then it's fall by 5 p.m. because the clouds have rolled in, the storms are rolling in. Yeah. We'll get an entire entire year's worth of precipitation and weather all in one day.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I guess for context, like where let the people know where are you based out of, just to kind of give them an idea.
So we live an hour east of Toronto, and I live right on the shore of Lake Ontario. And at night, on a cloudy night, I see the glow of the lights of Rochester, New York.
Oh, wow.
So that's where we're based out of. Yep. And actually, there's a spot where you can go, and on a crispy, clear winter night with a pair of binoculars, you can actually see the cars driving along some 4-lane highway, which I've ridden my bicycle on over there across the lake. Yeah, it's crazy.
Really?
It's 50 miles across the lake here.
Oh, that's crazy. Have you, I know you paddle a little bit. Have you ever, is that just not a good idea to like kayak or canoe across that far?
No, it's not a good idea. I used to race yachts out in Lake Ontario, and there'll be, 12-foot high waves. So with a trough, you're looking at 20-foot waves.
Really?
And this is in a 40-foot yacht. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's down in the green, and all you see is water, and then you crest the wave, and it's like, oh, there's the land, and then back down into the green.
So you don't.
I don't know how
you don't
these
want
guys.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I don't know how these guys race in the ocean with waves twice that size.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think I've only recently kind of gotten an idea of like the Great Lakes, the power of them, because it's even when I went up to Midwest Telefest in Upper Michigan, just coming up to these like ice waves coming in, and
yes, off of Lake Superior.
Yeah, man, that is one of the most unique things I have ever seen. I mean, and I know people surf a lot of the waves, like, and do that, but I think it's hard because, like, being from out west, the only thing that's even comparable is the ocean, and so to actually see like a fresh body of water functioning like that is pretty bizarre.
Yeah, my wife is from Thunder Bay, so we've been up there an awful lot, and in previous years I've paddled in Lake Superior, and so I think at the widest part it's 300 miles or 300 kilometers across. They say bald eagles don't even fly across the lake, they fly around it.
Wow.
And when you were talking about surfing, there's a whole surfing culture up on the North Shore, and I would imagine on the southern shore of Lake Superior also, where it's December, January, and these guys are all done up in their wetsuits, and they all have big beards that are frozen solid, and they're just out there having the time of their life, just in the freezing water.
It's some hardy people, man.
Oh yeah. People who live in that part of the world are very hardy.
Oh man, I love that.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. Well, and that's so. One of the things I wanted to bring up was how, yeah. Actually, I think this would be good. We'll do this first because I want to hear about how you got into Telemark scheme. But first, I was going to say, I don't know why I always forget this, but how we met was hilarious, and I thought this was worth the story, because the way that you and I met is I was on a tour with my band, or I don't remember. Oh no, I wasn't on tour with either way, you were
heading to that concert there east of Ottawa at Montebello.
That's what it was. It wasn't the time I was on tour with my band, but I was going to Rockfest, and so
right.
We were headed to Rockfest in Montebello in Quebec, and we were in Ottawa. And this was kind of earlier Instagram days, and I was like, I wonder if I post stickers on the Telemark Skier Instagram of me putting stickers in different cities with clues, and then I would say, hey, so if somebody sees this, go find the sticker through the clues that I put up, take a selfie with you with the sticker and you both in the photo, and DM us, and I'll send you a swag bag. And I literally still remember where I put the sticker in Ottawa, and I'm thinking there's absolutely no way anybody is going to see this thing. And I don't know, maybe It had to be within like a week. Like you just tell me your side of it, because like I remember getting the message and I'm like, I cannot believe somebody actually saw this and went and took a photo and found this sticker I put up. So
yeah, so I was I saw what you had done, and I happened to be heading up to the Laurentians, north of Montreal, to visit Telemark Ski Canada's head coach, Stéphane Perreault. He's a friend of mine. And so the way there is through Ottawa, and I saw the pictures and I knew it was in the Byward Market. Now I had paddle boards on the top of my vehicle, and I had a pedal boat in a trailer, and I'm going through downtown Ottawa, and I'm trying to find a parking spot, and there's like no place to park. And it's just before our Canada Day celebration, so all the parking meters are all covered, so you can't park there. So I park there anyways, and I run to the Byward Market, and I'm looking at your pictures, and I'm taking the lay of the land, and I'm like walking down the street, and I thought the sticker was like the size of a bumper sticker.
Oh no, yeah, they're like 3-inch by 3-inch.
Yeah, so I'm like standing there in the corner going, where the hang is this thing? And I turn around, and lo and behold, it's right there beside me.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Yeah. And so that's how our friendship started. And then when you were on tour with Lauren's crew and your crew, y'all crashed here for a couple of nights. I kicked my family out of the house. My wife happened to be visiting her mother in Thunder Bay, so I told my girlfriends or my daughters to go stay with their boyfriends.
I appreciated that. I remember being like, are you sure you want us to stay at your house? Because like the shows are getting over at like 1 or 2 in the morning, and then we had to like drive to your house, and I don't even remember where. I can't even remember where you were in
Oshawa at I can't remember the name of the club downtown.
Oshawa, is that what it was?
Yeah, but you know what, it was the first time in a long time that I'd gone to bed when the robins were singing. And then when my kids showed up the next day, they're like, Mom, there's bodies all over the house.
There's just a bunch of rock and rollers laying on the floor. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because then we went and I think, because we played Oshawa and then Toronto. We played
Toronto, yeah, that's right. Yeah. And then you were making your way east, I believe.
Yep. Yeah, we played Toronto at the Bovine Sex Club.
Right.
I always remember that because that was such a funny name. I'd tell people where we're playing and they're like, what? Like, what is that? I'm like, no, it's like a rock and roll club. Like, don't get too excited. Yeah. That's funny, man. Yeah. Well, so where, I mean, being in Ontario, for those that have not been to Canada, this is not the steepest of mountainous areas. But there are ski hills. So I'm kind of curious, like what was your whole background with snow, and then like how did you get into telemark skiing?
So I grew up in Quebec, and my family didn't have a car until I was 9 years old. My parents used to take us camping on the Greyhound bus.
Wow.
We'd go from Montreal down to Cumberland Beach State Park on Lake Champlain, just south of Plattsburgh, New York.
Okay. Yeah.
So, don't have a whole lot of money. And so I was always outside. And so we got into snowshoeing, and then we got into some cross-country skiing. I've always been a Nordic skier. And then there was some language uprest in Quebec, and I moved to Ontario with my family in 1977. And we come here, and there's like not a whole lot of snow. And I was like, Dad, they don't have winter here. What have we done? And always being a Nordic skier, because back in the early to mid 70s, we had a place called Mont Saint Bruno that had a ski hill on one side and kind of like a provincial park on the other side. And they had tens of kilometers of groomed cross-country ski trail. So nothing like that existed here in Ontario. So whenever I skied, I always had to bushwhack and cut my own trails and on conservation areas and stuff. So the hills here are not that big. I did a little bit of downhill skiing as a a teenager, but I wanted to play university basketball. And it's like, yeah, if I get hurt, I'm not going to do that because I can't get to school on my smarts. I got to school on my skills. And the local hill here that we call our home hill is called Brimacombe, and it's 300-foot vertical. And everybody says, they laugh. And I said, hey, there's 3 boys from that hill who compete in the World Cup of alpine snowboard racing. And one was some of them have been on the national team. Some of them have been in the Olympics. So in Ontario, we kind of think that we're fortunate, even though we have small hills, the ski racers and the snowboarders get to see their coaches more often because they're cycling through a smaller hill versus being at a big mountain where it might be, a few more minutes up the lift. And then you've got to ski down to where the race course is, where you're practicing. Where at our place, it's like right off the chair, the coaches are there. There's coaches at the bottom. I don't know how long a ride up. It's just a couple of moments and back through the cycle again. So you're getting a lot of
more coaching time.
Coaching.
That's an interesting way to look at it. I have never thought of that, but that's probably true. More time in front of the coach.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we have rolling hills here, and it's the old shore of Lake Ontario. So we call it the escarpment. And for people who are listening in New York, it's part of it is Tug Hill, which is on the southeast coast, I guess, of Lake Ontario and New York State. So it's all that sort of rolling hill farm country area. I would imagine, because I've driven through Wisconsin when I visited A.T. Robinson last year, rolling hills, the same sort of thing as what they have there. Yeah. So I think he and I grew up skiing at the same sort of hill.
Oh yeah, no,
it's same with Craig Dostie, right?
Yeah, Dostie was from Michigan. Yeah.
Did he ski at Brighton?
I think Brighton was where Dostie was from. And funny enough that you mentioned Tug Hill, because I was like, where have I heard that? You know who mentioned Tug Hill was Chris Valiente from 22 Designs, right? Went to Clarkson. And so he had mentioned Tug Hill because I had brought up the 10th Mountain Division is over, which is like an Army mountain unit that was famous in World War II, and they're stationed now. They were out of Leadville, Colorado, but they're now over in that zone too. And we were talking about that little zone.
Fort Drum.
There you go.
Yeah, because I when I was listening to the podcast with Chris, and he was saying he went to Clarkson. Sometimes when I go to my cottage, which is on the Quebec-Vermont border, that's how I go through. So I go through where Potsdam and Malone, the local hill there is Titus, which I've skied. It's a nice little place. Yeah. So it's crazy how when I listen to all the other podcasts, because my daughter lives in Windsor, which I call South Detroit. Yeah. She's been over to Brighton to ski, or to snowboard. And, around here, it's and just like other telemarkers, it's all about the experience, the camaraderie, the drinking the beer, having a coffee, shooting the BS, and just having lots of fun.
Yeah, that's what it's cool, because since I've gotten to know you, I think I've realized how where you're at, you're also close to, and because you sort of have that cottage in that area, I mean, a lot of these northern New York telemark scenes too, which is cool. City Garage guys in Ellicottville.
Those guys are awesome, man. They put on, unfortunately in Canada, we don't have any retailers that have telemark equipment. And so when people talk to me all the time, if I can't source stuff for them locally, used gear and that from friends and stuff, I send them down to see Sean. I can't remember Sean's last name.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's Trey also. Yeah.
Yep, Sean and Trey.
So, and this year I finally got to go to their Telestock because it's held on a Friday.
Yep.
When you're working all the time, and it's like, yeah, you can't be sick and cross an international border because there's a paper trail. So this year, seeing I'm retired, I got to go, and oh my gosh, what an incredible time.
Yeah, that's
and we hit the right storm cycle too, because we had skied the day before at Hollymont, which is a private club, but it's open to the public through the week. And it was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and my wife and I were still finding stashes of knee-deep powder.
Yeah, no, that place is great. And that, what's funny, I've had a great powder day at Holiday Valley myself when I was out there. And I remember thinking, and there was like no snow, and then it dumped. And we had a killer powder day. And the thing I love about out there is because it's so grassy that it's not like the West Coast where it's like you've got to fill in like rocks and you got to get an actual base going. So
I think our local hill, because one of our members of Telemark Ski Ontario, Stephanie Rutherford, her family owns the land that our ski club leases the land from. And I think during the summer, her dad's cows are out grazing on the ski runs.
Oh, really? That's kind of...
So you don't have to be like Mad River Glen and have a work crew come in and clear out trails and all that stuff, because the cows are out there munching on them. That's
funny. It's like a little your own lawnmower. Some good farming tactics. I like it. Yeah, that's cool. I'm glad you went to Telestock. That's one even though I know those guys, I was always out there like in December when I used to show my movies, and but I never got to Telestock, and I know they've got a really strong crew like in that area, which is between Ellicottville, Buffalo, like there's Kissing Bridge is up there.
Yeah, Pennsylvania is not that far. So I've met some people from, I think it's called Seven Springs.
Oh yeah, the Seven Springs,
east of Pittsburgh.
Yeah. They have they were the original Telepalooza.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I think I may have met one of the original organizers of that, and he's a Telemark instructor. His name's Jay Nation.
Oh,
and, he's invited me down there, but that's like 8 hours, because I got this thing like Lake Ontario. It's a pain in the butt. I got a buddy who lives in Rochester, Scott Miller, and we want to ski together, but it's like a 4.5 hour trip just to get 50 miles below me.
That's because you got to go all the way around it. Yeah.
I got to go over to Niagara Falls and Buffalo and then back east. Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, that's funny. I guess I didn't even think about the PA people coming up, because that's always been a really stronghold too that people don't realize is Western PA and kind of that zone. Yeah, that's cool. That makes a lot more sense because you've got that whole Seven Springs crew. And they've always had, I think Jim Capps, the other guy that maybe had started Telepalooza, if I remember right.
Right.
And the Nation.
Well, it was interesting. It was interesting. Last December, I had to go to Florida for a wedding, and so we drove down. Took 5 days, just crisscrossing, try to stay off interstates, and the same on the way home. And we were in Virginia for a few days, and staying on the secondary roads. It was basically a straight shot north home, and I'd never been. I've been to quite a few of the states, but I hadn't been to that part of Pennsylvania and Virginia and West Virginia. And it's not far distances, because in Ontario, for people who don't know this, you can drive for 24 hours from the extreme eastern end of Ontario, which would be like Lancaster, and you get to Lake of the Woods, Kenora, on the Manitoba border, which is mid Minnesota, and it's like you're still in the same province.
Yeah,
it's the same distance as people going from Buffalo to Miami, Florida.
Yeah, that is vast, and we were talking about that too. Is like before we got on the podcast, we were just talking about like the density, population density of the U.S. versus Canada, and it's like.
Yeah, U.S. is 51 people per square mile, and Canada is 4.
That's so crazy. I know. I'm still missing Manitoba, Saskatchewan, I think that I did get to. I have been to Alberta now, but I'm missing that midsection. Every time I tell that to somebody, they're like, "It's all good, dude. You don't need to do it." But I feel like I have a need to drive across it for some reason at some point. So,
well, you know what? I thought Saskatchewan and parts of Western Manitoba were pretty vast when I did my road trip the year I retired. And, a buddy of mine said, yeah, Saskatchewan, that's where you can see your dog run away for 7 days. But when I got into Eastern Oregon, it's like you can see your dog run away for 10 days.
Oh, yeah. Eastern Oregon's no joke. People always think like Portland or, but it's high desert out there, man. There's nothing there.
I always thought Oregon was like the Cascades, just tons of trees. And I had to convince my wife to stay overnight at a safety rest stop because I wanted to stay in this high desert. And she was pretty anxious about it because there was nobody, because I think it was like an hour and a half back to Burns, Oregon. And then I can't remember the name of the town. It was like 3 hours east and nothing in between.
Yeah.
But once a couple of tractor trailers pulled in, another couple of RVs, she was okay.
So good. Yeah, there's some.
It's pretty vast.
Eastern, a lot of people don't realize that, but like Eastern Montana is a lot like that too. People always think like big mountains, and then once you pass Red Lodge into like Billings and stuff, it's flat. You're heading towards the Dakotas and whatnot. So, yeah, that's cool. Well,
I really enjoy traveling, seeing all the landscape, and meeting up with ski friends, whether it's in ski season or not. Because when we retired and did our big trip, we took Canada out to visit family and friends, and we came south to visit ski friends.
That's so cool.
And one person we had met on the Telemark, what was that ski forum that Mitch had?
Telemark Tips.
Yeah. So we had met on that, and I bought a couple of t-shirts from him. So we had been acquaintances for 17, 18 years.
Whoa.
And never had met. So we met at a place called Mount Angel in Oregon that has the largest Oktoberfest in the Western US.
Really?
Yeah, so I took my fifth wheel down there, and he pulled up in his trailer, and we stayed at their place afterwards also, and it was awesome. Yeah, for me, that's what Telemark skiing is about.
That's cool. Who was it? That wasn't Jarl, was it?
That was Jarl.
Oh, was it Jarl?
Jarl Berg.
Shout out to Jarl Berg.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I think that's what's been so cool. I agree. Our community is so cool because guys like, it's interesting that you've probably known Jarl as long as I have, but we met in completely different ways, through different Telemark stuff. And I think that's what always, the fabric of Telemark is so intertwined and so cool, that I don't know. I just love hearing that because like Jarl, who was running Berg's ski shop with his family ski shop with his brother Sven and his dad in Eugene, was one of the first places I ever showed one of my Telemark ski movies. Yeah, maybe you didn't even know that. That's how I met Jarl, though, was...
Oh, cool.
He might... Man, this is like back in maybe the MySpace days, if you remember MySpace. It was before Facebook.
Yeah.
Because we showed our Lipstick Films movie called Since We Last Spoke that came out in 2006, and I'm pretty sure that's how Jarl found us or somehow reached out. Either if it wasn't on MySpace, it was around that time, and was like, hey, I have this ski shop in Eugene and I love Telemark skiing, and anybody who's ever met Jarl Berg knows that he is like the biggest cheerleader for Telemark skiing on the planet.
Oh yeah.
And but yeah, he set it up for us. We had a little movie screening in the back of the shop, and then we used to go to Telefest at Hoodoo, which is did you ever get to Hoodoo to ski? Probably
no. That's what I'm kind of hoping next February, if everything settles down and borders open up, that my wife and I are planning a big ski trip follow Route 66 down to New Mexico and Arizona and chase spring north.
There you go.
For 2 or 3 months. Yeah. And want to go see Jarl and go do some spring skiing at Hoodoo.
That's a really cool little spot because it's right where the Pacific Crest Trail cuts through. And
right.
And Ben's right there. There's some cool hot springs kind of in that zone. Yeah. Awesome. That's an awesome spot, man.
Yeah.
Man, this is cool. I love where we're going with this, man. It's I got a little sidetracked though, just real quick before I forget. So when you moved to Ontario, you were Nordic skiing. At what point in life did you pick up telemark skiing?
Our daughters got into skiing when they were 5 and 6, I guess. And then we were skiing in the Laurentians at Mont Tremblant. And we were on the north side riding a chair up, and I saw these guys coming down this gigantic mogul field, and I was like, what the hell is that? It's like, oh, that's telemark skiing. So I did a little bit of research, and then one day at school, this woman walked into our office, and on the back of her jacket, it said ski telemark. So I approached her and I found out that her son was a student at our school, and I told her that I was interested in learning and how do I go about doing that. And she had a pair of skis that fit me with some bindings. I think I may have had those in January, but when you got canoes for feet like I do, it
size 31 or
boots.
Whatever.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And so somebody took pity on me out of Colorado on telemark tips and sold me a pair of bumblebees for $100. And I approached Holly once I got them to see how the bindings and the boot work, and said, how do I do this? And I basically taught myself. And that would have been, I was thinking back, that was 18, 19 years ago, I guess.
Wow.
Almost 20 years ago. Yeah. So, and I kept my alpine gear just in case. And the woman that I was talking about, her name is Holly Blevkin. She's the queen of telemark up here in Ontario in Canada. She's the Canadian version of Jarl. Her and her husband have a traveling telemark ski school. They're both huge cheerleaders for telemark skiing.
Yeah, she's done a lot over the years when you think.
Oh yeah. She showed up. I heard stories. She showed up at Dickie Hall's NATO, the telemark festival at Mad River Glen, and she had cross country ski equipment on with low cut boots, and I don't even think the boots had steel shanks in them. And Dickie's looking at her and go, what the heck are you doing here? She goes, well, I'm telemark skiing. Yeah. If I get the story right, I hope I do, Holly. If not, track me down, give me heck. But that's kind of what I remember. And yeah, so she's been a huge driving force, and she's been doing it for over 30 years.
Wow.
33 years. Yeah.
And I think what's the web? Is hers skitele.ca?
Skitelemark.ca.
Yeah, skitelemark.ca. Yep.
Yeah. So it's awesome. And like people don't even know this. So Wednesday nights in almost downtown Toronto, there's a ravine right off the 401, which is like our one of our interstates. And Wednesday nights we teach skiing, or I used to, but she still does. And people from Toronto take the bus to ski lessons. The city bus to ski lessons.
Is she doing it on telegear then?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm always so impressed with like I always talk about the Midwest and the U.S. and everyone romanticizes all the big mountains in the U.S. and whatnot, but the grit of how people handle things in areas that don't have huge mountains always is impressive to me, because in Salt Lake, if someone was like, hey, we're teaching ski lessons at a ravine outside of town, no one would show up because everybody would think it was ridiculous. But I love the fact that people just don't pay attention to that elsewhere and get it done. That's amazing.
Well, when you're talking about the grit, the present president of Telemark Ski Ontario, Tony Fitzsimons, he's always bushwhacking. He went to school in Thunder Bay, I think it was like outdoor recreation he took. And, he learned to telemark on a mountain up there. But down here, he lives in Georgetown, which is northwest of Toronto. And he's always out playing. And so he finds old skis and he takes a Dremel tool and he puts his own fish scales in because he's tired of going up these little hills and taking a skin off. And that sort of stuff. And, out west, you ski the trees and all us Easterners look at, oh, wow, yeah, no, that's not skiing the trees. But I've since learned that Westerners ski the trees, Easterners ski the bush.
Yeah, the woods, the bush.
Oh, yeah. And there's a couple of great festivals up here that happen around the time of World Telemark Day. One of them is called Twig Fest.
Twig Fest?
And Twig Fest.
Oh, yeah. I haven't heard about this
one.
Skiing
the trees, but yeah, they're skiing the trees, but there's all these twigs that get in your way, and it's like, whoa, man, your ski tips catch that, and then it's Faceplant City, and it looks. I haven't made it up there because I've got sort of bad knees, and I don't want anything to pull the knees in the wrong direction.
Where's Twig Fest?
So Huntsville is 2 hours north of Toronto, and I think it's held at an old ski hill, a lost ski hill called Limberlost. And they go out, they set up a prospector tent, so like a double-walled canvas tent for the day. And a bunch of people get together and they're out in the bush and they're skinning up, or maybe they don't have skins, so they got snowshoes and they go up there, take their skins and shoes off and ski down through the woods and that sort of stuff. And another one happens north of Sault Ste. Marie. And I can't remember.
Is that Flea Festival or Snow
Flea Festival? That's it. Yeah.
Snow Flea.
Yeah. Snow Flea. Yeah. And you know what? That's an incredible place because I met Robin and N, who run this place. For the first time, I was visiting a friend, John Woods, up in Searchmount, which is a great little mountain in the middle of the boreal forest of northern Ontario on the eastern shore of Lake Superior. And they have 10 acres of land and they have accommodation there, but they have access to 2,500 acres and they have trail permits. And so you can go there and get guided tours, and N will take you back into the backcountry and go skiing, and that's where their festival is held. And I know like a bunch of the Midwest crew, like Mitchell Krebs, I think he's been there. And
Midwest Telly Dads for those that don't
know. Yeah, the crazy dads. Yeah.
That aren't dads. Yeah. That's a whole nother podcast, though.
Well, it was interesting. Jarl and I were talking about the physique dad bods.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Jarl and I figure we're not using dad bods anymore. We're going to use father figures.
Oh wow! Oh man, that's hilarious. You guys are distinguishing yourself. Yeah, because I don't think the Midwest Telly Dads have kids, so that's a much more accurate depiction.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, there's some great bush skiing out here in the east.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, and so the whole so you got Holly is doing the skitelemark.ca, and then you've got Telemark Ski Canada, and is that kind of the whole organization around Canada? Maybe explain a little bit about Telemark Ski Canada and then also Telemark Ski Ontario.
Sure. So Telemark Ski Canada is the sanctioning body for all of the activities that go on in Canada that are insured. And so Telemark Ski Canada is responsible for any of the festivals that go on, any of the educational events, and also responsible for putting athletes in the World Cup to race and their training and all that sort of stuff. So we have at present 3 provinces represented. We have a head coach, Stéphane Perreault. Eric Gagne is the president, and each participating province has a board member. So that's the highest level. And then what happens is for Telemark Ski Ontario, which I'm on the board of directors of, we host a World Telemark Day. So we contact a local hill and I submit paperwork to Telemark Ski Canada. And so we get insurance for us, and that's our connection to Telemark Ski Canada. And then we can run these events without any problems at local ski hills once we get these certificates of insurance. And the local ski hills love when we come because we bring all sorts of people in. They're selling, lift tickets, and they give us space. And now it's growing to a point where, well, I live nearby. Let's hold the après ski at my place, because we'd be getting kicked out of these resorts because we're going too late. And we're just sitting around drinking beer and having food and that sort of stuff. So that's how Telemark Ski Ontario works. And we also have a youth initiative, and that's one of the ways how we met, because we had a conversation about this way back in the day. So we had a philanthropist who's a big skier, a Telemark skier, want to get involved and provided a bunch of money for us. We gave them a proposal of what we wanted to do, and it allowed us to buy close to 30 pairs of boots, 24 pairs of skis, and we tried to quietly poach alpine racers by cross-training them on telemark equipment. And the biggest thing, the selling point is, we're going to make you a better skier because your heels aren't attached. You get instant feedback. And I remember working with this one group at Milton Heights Racing, which is at a conservation area called Glen Eden, just west of Toronto on the Niagara Escarpment. And we had this group of 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, and we were just trying to side slip the hill going forwards and backwards, kind of like a falling leaf. They'd look like they just got off the sailboat and had been drunk for 20 days. They're just falling
just all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we're trying to improve their skiing, and, and sometimes we get some kids who I want to do this. We sign up with this. So, I track down gear for them, and lots of times the gear is just passed on to me to pass on to these kids. No cost attached.
That's amazing. How hard? This is a good topic, and honestly, maybe at some point it'd be good to have like a group panel of people that have tried to start youth initiatives and youth programs, because I know it's a really common topic that comes up, but I feel like there's not a lot of information out there. What do you think is the most difficult part of starting something like that? Is it the equipment? Is it just like trying to get a hill to allow you to do it? It's the equipment, and I'm kind of thinking in this day and age, it's also the liability. Right.
So once you get established in an area, and I know that there's a lot of people out there who telemark who know, oh, so-and-so's got some spare gear, and so-and-so's got an old pair of boots, and so I'll have, young kids approach me at the hill who I used to teach. So they've been in my classes and that sort of stuff. And I'll, grabbed my daughter's telemark boots and her skis, and I've gone out to the hill and helped them get started and that sort of stuff. I guess the gear is the biggest thing. It's not readily available. Skis are easy to find, and if everybody's got extra cable bindings around, don't throw them out or get rid of them. Hang on to them in case you've got a friend who's got a kid who wants to get into telemark skiing. And then the biggest thing after that is finding boots. Yeah. So I never throw boots away. I hang on to boots, and I pass them on to kids, and I say, you know what, when you're finished with them, you outgrow them. If you can pass them on to somebody else, do so. If not, send them back my way so that I can spread the love more. Yeah, I love that. Well, and this brings up a topic I did want to touch on.
is Telemark equipment in Canada, because you and I have talked a lot about this. I know we ship stuff up there, albeit difficult because of taxes and shipping costs, so we're always trying to figure that out. And another, I don't know if you heard this, La Cordée is going under. So
wow, I didn't know that. Yeah,
they are. That's my understanding and so La Cordée is a outdoor shop that has, I think, predominantly in Quebec, right?
It is. Yeah, it's probably. I know because I'm from Montreal. I know there's a few shops around Montreal, probably maybe even Quebec City, but they sell everything. It's kind of like an REI.
Yep. Yeah,
and so that's not good to hear, because basically they were the only Canadian retailer that would carry Telemark equipment.
Right, and that's what I was going to mention too, is that MEC, which used to be, if you're not from Canada and you're from America or US, I guess, the REI and MEC EMS, those are all kind of similar, kind of outdoor, snowshoe to running to whatever, but they used to carry tele equipment back in the day as well. Yeah. And that's why I wanted to mention the La Cordée thing, because once I heard that, I was like, oh man, I'm like, now you guys really
got nothing.
You got nothing. Exactly. And that sounds really grim, but I think, I mean, that just seems, when you and I have spoken about this, and I've talked to I've talked to like 22 Designs about this, and Scarpa, and whoever I can have this conversation with, I'm always saying, it's not the fact that there's no interest up there. In fact, I think it's the opposite. The interest is there. It's the fact that we're not problem solving about how to get the equipment to you guys. And,
that's right. Yeah. So for example, a lot of people take up telemark skiing because of our small hills. They take their kids out, and so they're hanging out with their kids. They're bored out of their skull. And so they're like, okay, well, what's another challenge that I could do? And so a lot of people who have taken up telemark skiing that I know have taken it up because of that, the boredom of the hill, and it gives them something to work on while they're skiing with their little ones.
Yeah. No, that makes
sense. And I was just talking 2 days ago to a guy named Todd Joel, who's one of our board members, and he sits on the board for Telemark Ski Canada. So I've been kind of out of that loop for a bit, asking for an update, nationally and that sort of stuff. And he's a longtime telemark skier. He's been, in the 80s, I think. And he says there are more telemark skiers in Canada now than when he started.
See, and that
is a good thing.
That's amazing. And I'm so glad that you said that, because I truly don't think people realize that, and it's awesome to hear that. And I know maybe someone out there is like, well, we want to see hard data. I don't know who would say that, but I feel like there's always like a contrarian to the whole thing.
Yes,
but I feel like we're in the same boat. This is truly a matter of just figuring out doing some problem solving, instead of like, it's so dead that no one's doing it, is just not. That's actually not the case.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, is like for the TSO youth program, we worked with Vocal Skis, G3 out of BC, and Scarpa. And so, in the last 2 years, G3 has stopped making their telemark cable bindings,
right?
Which is unfortunate, because for young kids, a nice cable binding is really flexible and easy to bend the boots with and that sort of stuff, versus being on NTN.
Right.
And so now we've lost our local source, because a lot of the problems that we have is stuff comes from Europe and goes to the US in North America, then gets distributed to Canada. So there are taxes being applied from Europe into the US. And then when it comes into Canada, more taxes are applied. And then there's the disparity between the Canadian dollar and the American dollar for some strange reason. And so things, the price of things are quite inflated when they get to Canada. So
Right.
the cost is very prohibitive. So
it's difficult to figure out. I'm not quite sure even where to begin with that conversation, because that I know opening a retail business where we ship a lot. I mean, I don't know. I guess we do ship a lot overseas. We ship a lot to Canada, not as much as I would like, but I think that's the one eye-opening thing that has happened to us, is realizing truly, like you said, the barrier to getting people equipment is an enormous problem that somehow we need to solve, and it's even like Australia and New Zealand. Like, man, it's insane. I get messages from people down there, and the people that do brave getting stuff shipped there, it makes me feel bad because it costs so much, but there's just no way for them to get it otherwise. And sometimes we're shipping parts, even a part down there, and the tax that you pay on a small plastic part, it's just like ridiculous,
Yeah.
So I don't know. We're definitely definitely some issues to
because for us up here, when people are talking to me, or I'm looking on forums and stuff like that, and people have questions about a piece of equipment, or, it's either, if you're wanting to try boots on, you got to go to the City Garage in Ellicottville, or, hit the guys up at Freeheel Life, because I know that you have a huge catalog inventory of parts. It's like, if you need something. And then my buddy Tony, he's like, he'll watch the forums, and it's like, oh, I got a big hole in my bellows of my boots. Is well, how old are your boots? 25 years old? It's like, dude, okay, get out of those and get yourself into some new boots, like.
That's so funny. The holes in the bellows thing always cracks me up, because it was funny. Taylor here at the shop, there was a guy at Alta that this guy had these T-Race boots that, like, this is like 4 years ago. He starts riding the lift with him, and he's like, oh yeah, I work at a Telemark shop, like, I see you got some holes in your bellows, they're like epoxied together and duct tape and whatever. And he would see this guy every year for like 4 years, and he just loved his boots so much. He just was like, no, I don't really want to buy new boots. And then finally this year, I remember Tay wasn't here because someone else sold him the boots, and Tay was super bummed out because he's like, I've been talking to that guy for 4 years on the lift.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny.
See, and I have the other problem because I got those big feet. It's like, okay, those boots are going to wear out. I need to start sourcing another big boot.
Well, and I was going to say, and I don't know if we might have mentioned this, I think when Dusty and I were talking about NTN stuff, but you are the perfect example of somebody who cannot get an NTN boot. There's not a 31 Mondo boot. And so it's a strange conversation, because it's like, they're not necessarily making the boot. Well, they aren't making. Are you still on the T-Race? Is that what you're on?
Well, I still have my T-Races, but I'm on the TX comp.
Oh, you did get in the comp. So are the 30s? So the 30s are working.
I got
then
30s, and I thought, I'm gonna bake them myself. Before I do that, I'll wear them around the house. But oh my gosh, they were torture boots. So then I went to a shop in the Laurentians, north of Montreal, got them baked. Fit perfectly. So my foot is a 30 and a half, and I've got plenty of room to fit in a size 30 TX comp.
That's good. Okay, that's good to hear. And we do see that a lot. Like, people come in, they're like, no, I'm a 31 for sure, and then you size them out, and they're actually a 30, which is good. So I always encourage, but.
Yeah, it depends on how badly you want to ski. Because remember that time I came down to visit you?
Oh yeah.
And I crammed my foot into a 29. We baked the liners, and you know what? If you really want to do something, you can do it.
At least for like half a run, you know?
Yeah. And I still want those 801s, man.
Oh, I know. I think we're gonna now we really got to figure out like when we're gonna get back to making stuff like skis, because with this whole COVID thing, it's definitely gonna put it might put a little slowdown on some of the ideas.
Yeah, but I tell you, you know what? I go all over the place with those switchblades. The first skis you guys ever made and sold.
Yep.
People love them, and you know what? They're my go-to ski all the time. And for people who don't know me, I'm 6'6", 275, 280 pounds, and you know, if anybody can break stuff, it's me.
Yeah.
Now that I've said that, I'll break the skis next winter.
I hope not. No, I'm glad those are holding up, because, especially for out your way, that's like the perfect. It's like a stiff ski. I think 9,500 foot.
Yes.
So,
yeah. No. And when I got them, the top sheet was so pristine; it looked like a dining room table, and I was really afraid to drill my holes and get my bindings on there. But now that I'm on NTN on those things, it's awesome. They're so awesome.
That's awesome. I love that, man.
Yeah.
Well, this has been an awesome convo, man. I know we'll have to definitely do this again. Maybe we'll have to get you and Jarl and get a cross section
that's
of
what
people.
We do on that's so during this time of our ski season ending up here in Ontario, we started we called it Zoom beers. So Telemark Ontario people wanted to get together and drink beers, but then when I posted on Facebook, people were like, hey, I want to do that. So Jarl's gotten in on it. We've invited Rick Hirsch. He was out skiing Arapahoe Basin last week or a week and a half ago. And so hopefully we can get a few more people. Maybe Mitchell will get on there too. And Jarl's coined it gear, beer, and anything weird.
I would assume that would be the topics.
Yeah. So we actually, sometimes they go like 2 hours, and we're just sitting around in front of our laptops, drinking beers, talking mostly Telemark stuff and whatever else people are doing. You know, one of the guys, Todd, he's a greenskeeper, a head greenskeeper at a golf course. Somebody else was having turf problems. Todd was solving the turf problems for him. I
love that. I cannot believe how many golfers are Telemark skiers. And I don't know if it's just the last couple years I've realized that, but
really?
I had no idea. Did you know that? I didn't know that.
No. Well, you know what? Like, and up here in Canada, my family is one of the largest distributors of golf accessories. And my dad says during this weird time, he says he can't keep stuff out. He supplies all these huge stores and stuff, and his sales are up over last year. Yeah, I know. These guys are chomping at the bit. You know, Taylor at the shop.
Yeah. He's a big golfer. Cooper, one of the kids that started working here this year, he's a golfer. I feel like everyone's a golfer. Me personally, I'm not. I don't know. I don't know if I'll get there, dude. I don't know if I can get to the golf thing.
I'm the only one in my family who doesn't golf. I'm with Mark Twain. Golf is a walk in nature ruined.
Oh, that's a funny quote.
Yeah. And I know that down in Taylor and Alex, they call it chasing snakes.
Yep, totally.
Up here, we call it whack and some expletive word that starts with that. That's what we call it.
I know. Yeah. I got too many other things. I can't start anything else and buy it.
No, I'd rather ride my bicycle for the amount of time
that
it takes to play a round of golf.
Yeah, the patience level is crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I still love all you golfers out there. So I'm just not patient enough.
Yeah. Keep buying stuff, adding to my inheritance. I appreciate it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks. I'm glad we got to talk, man. And I think that shed some cool light on the Canadian scene. I'm sure we'll talk to more people up there. For all those of you that took the time to listen, I appreciate it. You can always support us by making a donation of your choice to paypal.me/freeheellife. There's still some gear that you can pick up at freeheellife.com. If it's not there, we'll definitely replenish kind of towards the end of the summer, leading into the fall. And articles on telemarkskier.com, or you can always email me at podcast@freeheellife.com. And really appreciate you guys checking out the podcast. Take a second to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. And until next week, spread Telemark always, my friends.